I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we are diving into 8 years and 27 concerts, Foreigner Live by Daryl Bughman. This captivating book showcases his incredible journey as the key photographer for the legendary band Foreigner, capturing their electrifying performances. Beyond his stunning photography, we will also take a look at some of his personal struggles, as well as his resilience and passion for life and art. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Daryl, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Logan, it's great to be alive today.
It's always great to be alive. I
Yeah, it's
was
always
just
great to be alive.
reviewing some of the songs that Foreigner had out there. Cold as Ice, Hot Blooded, Waiting for a Girl Like You. I Want to Know What Love Is. I Want to Know What Love Is. Everybody knows those songs. It's the soundtrack of my life and a lot of people's life. How did you happen to become the key photographer for the band?
Well, it's all described in the book. In the 80s and the late 70s and the 80s, I knew who Foreigner was, but I didn't really care because I was too involved in my alcoholism and my drug addiction. But I knew who they were, and I was familiar with their material. So when I gotten sober in March 7th, 93, I surrendered, and my close friend, one of my very closest friends, his name's Stephen Zadie, right here where I live in Shippensburg, there's a university here, and he said, Daryl, you got to go see this version of Foreigner. It's a different members, but Mick Jones does show up from time to time, and I said, I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to go. I really didn't care. I did not want to go, and he twisted my arm. And it just happened that I don't believe in compromise or in coincidences. I believe that things happen for a reason. On that same night, I was photographing NCAA collegiate boxing on the same campus here in town in Shippensburg. So I left the boxing, went over to the theater to see them, and so I took my camera bag in with me, and they didn't check me for it, and so I took it. We had great seats. They came out on stage, and within a matter of two songs, I said, wow, what is this? Uh, they all look like rock guys. Mick Jones wasn't there, but it didn't matter. The energy, the stage performance, the lead singer, everybody just looked sharp. Everybody played well. The songs were perfect. It was like stepping back in time and reminding me, well, wait a second, these guys were very successful. And I got my camera out and I just started shooting from my seat.
Mm.
Uh, I got home, looked at them online, and I said, "There's something special about this band. They're all photogenic," um, and I left it at that. I guess it was about a year and a half later. I was doing Fight Night in Washington, D.C., which was a yearly event to raise money for children, black tie affair at the Washington Hilton. And they always have entertainment. Every year they have somebody different. So I got there that night and they had the boxing ring set up because they had boxing. And I said, who's the entertainment this year? Because usually it was somebody, somebody I really wasn't interested in. And they said, Foreigner. I said, what?
Mm.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Where are they going to put them at? Now, Sheila E. was there that night.
Mm-hmm.
She was over on this small stage. And I said, well, where's the big stage for Foreigner? And he said, oh, well, they're going to put him in the boxing ring. I said, what? What? They're going to put him in the boxing ring. So they dropped the ropes, brought out all their equipment, and they came out. And the unique thing about it was uh, I could shoot them all night.
Mm.
There was no three-song limit. Uh, it was an unusual atmosphere because they were all squished into the boxing ring.
Yeah.
And most of the people that were at the event are athletic people, sports people. And I said, I don't know if this is going to work. And within a matter of two songs, they all recognized exactly who the band was because they heard the songs, they knew the songs. This is
Mm.
how powerful this band is. They can cross over from teenagers today to people middle aged, and an event which was basically set up for sports people. in hockey, football, basketball, whatever. Uh, they just enjoyed it. And I said, well, this is something. So I came home, did the same thing, looked at it, and I said, this is something here. Then the clincher was they came back to Shippensburg again, University. And I said, I think I'm supposed to photograph this band.
Mm.
So I went back up and saw them there and shot from my seat again. And then they showed up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is just outside Harrisburg, at the Giants Center that following July. And that's when I got in touch with their management for the first time. And I spoke to a gentleman by the name of Jean-Louis Delzene. And Jean-Louis is in Los Angeles. And I sent him my work and showed him the images I had taken. And they sent me their first photo pass. That was at the Giants Center. And that was the third show. And after that, I went to see them as many times as I could, that I could drive to within a reasonable distance. I went to Las Vegas and shot them. It just took on a life of its own. It was something I just was guided to do. And at the end of 27 shows, I said, I think I got something here that maybe the fans, I got to see and understand how supportive and loyal the fans are to this band. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that, all you got to do is go to one of their shows. Go to one of their shows, you'll understand it completely. They have a following that is loyal. That the age range is from 0 to 100, and their show is choreographed. It's well put together. Everybody in the band is very, very talented. Mick Jones was the only member that showed up from time to time, but then they did two shows in Atlantic City a year apart at the Hard Rock, where they brought back all of the original members. And they came out and performed by themselves, and the current touring band performed by themselves, and then at the end they all performed together. So what Mick Jones did was an incredible thing to keep this band alive without the original members touring, because I guess it's my understanding they just decided that they couldn't do it anymore that way.
Yeah.
This band could. They're a little bit younger now. They're getting to the point now. I believe Kelly, the lead singer, Kelly Hansen, is around 61 now. So they're getting to the point where they're going to bring it to an end this year. It's my understanding at the Venetian in Las Vegas. I think the final show is scheduled for November 9th of this year. Now they're back out on tour in June with, I believe it's Styx, and I forget the other band that they're touring with, but it was just something that I never intended in doing, and I did it, and it turned out to be beautiful. It was a great experience. I met so many people. I'm talking about the fans that are so appreciative and so supportive of them. One girl in particular, her name's Mary Kirsten. Mary, she's from Delaware, and she's in the book. As I put her in the book as Foreigner's #1 fan, and I have pictures of her, and she doesn't know about this yet, so she'll be surprised when she sees it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Was part of the appeal to you the nostalgia of the music, that it brought you back to a different age when, there were real rock bands out there like Foreigner?
Yeah, exactly. Because Logan, I began playing. I played drums, and I made a living at it from 1965 when I started playing up until about 1975, and that's when the alcohol and the drugs took over, and I left performing. The music is what drew me to the show. But once I was at the show, the performance on stage, I can't compare it to anything that I've seen since then. And I don't go to a lot of concerts, but I never saw a production like this. And it was presented in such a manner. It was just so compelling and so enjoyable. The only thing I can relate it to is I see 38 Special from time to time, and the reason I bring up their name is because Steve, once again, he's 80, talked me into going to see them, and I wanted to see them because I knew their stuff and I like their stuff. But what happens when you go see 38 Special and you see bands like Foreigner? Uh, you forget about everything else. You go back and you don't have any troubles in your mind because the songs take all that away. And for like 90 minutes or however 2 hours that they perform, you're transformed into just happiness.
Yeah,
And that's a cool thing today.
it is.
Happiness is kind of hard to find. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it's
Did you
so
wind up touring with these guys?
no, did I go with them?
Yeah.
No. This was all on my own.
Yep.
This was all on my own. Jean-Louise was the one that provided me with all the credentials that I needed.
Hmm.
And it was all on my own. I was never hired by them. I don't formally, I didn't work for them. I was never paid by them. It was just something that I decided I wanted to do.
Yeah. A
And
labor of love.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
I mean, you love your craft, you love your art, you love being a photographer. This subject really called out to you and you decided to shoot it.
Yeah,
So
I didn't realize, how much it meant to me until I couldn't do it,
mm,
which, there was time spaces in between shows. And I was going to mostly the stuff on the Northeast where I live. Uh, uh, and then there was some time in between it. And the rush for me is the three songs in front of them and the audience behind me. Um, it just it some people say, well, when you get clean and sober, that you have to replace all your bad habits and all the bad things you did in life with great new ones.
mhm.
And this was a great new one.
Yeah.
And it was like it's nothing that I can really describe other than it was for me. It was thrill. It was a thrill.
Yeah.
And the guys in the band, uh, they just don't know how to take bad pictures. I mean, Bruce
Yeah.
Bruce Watson, the guitar player in particular with the blonde hair. I mean, you can look at the worst pictures I took of him, and they still look great. Yeah.
Right.
Kelly Hansen, same thing. Jeff Pilson, the bass player. Chris Frazier, uh, great drummer. Chris is not too emotional behind the drums, but he still takes great pictures. Michael Boosney, the keyboard player. And then we had at the beginning, when I photographed him, we had Tom Gimbel, who had been with the band the longest, the saxophone player. And Tom left the band, decided to retire after we had the lockdown. And he had been with them, I think, for 20 plus years.
Mm.
It was not only entertaining, I appreciated the musical talent. I give you an example, like if you went to shoot, let's say Eric Clapton, for example, who I admire and I love Eric Clapton, but if you take two or three pictures of it, that's it. I mean, they go on stage in their street clothes.
Right.
They don't, they've had their picture taken a zillion times,
Right.
and it's not on their mind. These guys are different in that way, in that respect.
Yeah.
So that's what compelled me to do it. Their show in particular, and their talent, and of course the 16 top 30 hits that they had. That's a bunch.
Yeah, they have a huge number of hits. Like I said, the music was the soundtrack of my adolescence, and it does bring back a lot of memories. What was it like putting together this book, choosing from the photographs and the text as well? I mean, you have a story in there too.
Whoa, a lot of images. Ooh. It took myself and one of the representatives from my publisher, Amy. Amy was the one that was key in putting together the images. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said, well, it just kind of makes sense. If we do 27 shows, then the people that were at those shows can relate because they'll
Mhm.
look and they'll say, well, wait a second, I was at that show. Okay. Oh, I wasn't at that one, but I was at this one. And I said, well, why don't we just do 27 shows? So it was very difficult picking the best. And it took us July, August, about 4 or 5 months to
Mm.
actually pick the ones that are in the book. And it's a big book, and it's 300 pages, and there's a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
So if you are a fan of this band, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
If you don't really care about looking at photography, and for Foreigner's not your favorite band, you're really not going to care for it. But
Right.
there's enough people out there I know that are really going to love this book because it just it shows them growing actually during that short period of 8 years. The hair may change a little bit, costumes change a little bit, the lighting changes a little bit, expressions change a little bit because we're all living in a different time. It's a different day. And so that's what intrigued me about it. And we came up with the idea. And
Yeah. Merchandise is huge for bands nowadays. They don't really sell albums anymore or CDs. So they
right.
sell t-shirts, they sell vinyl from time to time. Have they chosen your book yet? I'm putting some words out there for
Well,
Foreigner to listen to. It should be part of their merchandise.
what happened originally, they put out a tour book about 4 years ago, and two or three of my images were in the tour book, and I
Right.
got photo credit in the back. Then not this year, but last year, they put out an enhanced version of the tour book, much larger, and there's over a dozen of my images in that book, and my photo credits in there. But then I had gotten to the point where I said to management, I offered them a chance to be involved in what I thought I was going to do. And they said that you should just do it on your own.
Mhm.
Okay. And so that's how we did it. Now we had some intellectual property things that we had to go through and with the logo and that type of thing. But they granted me permission to do that on my own. Yeah, that stuff sells out. If you, I notice when I go to their shows, and I haven't been the one in a little over a year. Last ones I did 3 shows in Las Vegas in 2023, and at the end of the evening, it's all gone.
Mm.
Every T-shirt, every sweatshirt,
Yeah,
anything they can get their hands on, and
exactly.
yeah.
Well,
So
hopefully we're getting the words out to the fans about this book because this is the ultimate fan favorite, in my opinion, for sure. Let me tell you, when I was a kid, we had a little camera store in my town, and there was a beautiful German-made SLR in the window. It was called an Exacta. And I
Mm,
think I literally paid with it with dimes and quarters until I came up with the $78 it cost. That's how I got into photography. I never went anywhere with it, obviously, but you went somewhere with your photography. Tell me how you got into it. Did you buy that camera in the window with pennies from your pocket when you were young?
mm.
Or tell me how you became a professional photographer?
I was always interested in taking pictures, even when I was young, but I never thought of investing in a camera. I had a little Polaroid, and I
Yeah.
had a little. We had a little. I can't even tell you what the name of the camera was. A little.
One of the Instamatics, probably, the
Yeah, something like
Kodak.
that. A Kodak. Somebody
Yeah.
get the Kodak. Get the Instamatic out, and my family had. And then I wish I would have had a camera in a lot of places I was at. Trust me,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And I always had an interest in it. But you have to understand that for 21 years I was loaded. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's kind of hard to take pictures when you're loaded.
Yeah.
And besides that, you're not really thinking about doing that anyhow. You just want to get higher. Uh,
Right.
so when drugs and alcohol manage your life, which is what happened to me, I thought I was managing it, but it was managing me. You don't have time for that. When I got sober in '93, March 7th, uh, the girl I was dating at the time, her mother gave me a completely manual old 35 millimeter camera. She said,
Hmm.
I know you like to take pictures, and I don't think you have a camera, do you? And I said, no. And that's where it started. So
Wow.
after I got sober in '93, and then I started doing boxing. I do football, NCAA football. I do then I started taking it to concerts, and I've done a lot of Joe Bonamassa.
Hmm.
Joe and his team of people, we have a working relationship, and I go photograph Joe. Joe's very exciting to photograph. Vanilla Fudge, which is a band from the '60s.
Hmm.
Um, they're the only band that I know of from the '60s that have three original members still left. Uh, they're old friends of mine. I met them in my playing days back in the '60s, and then I lost touch with them for all those years, and then I got back. I do a lot of photography for them. I just finished doing something with them about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was after I got sober and I could think clearly and I could make decisions about my life and choices that were positive choices and were constructive choices. And I just took one step at a time, one day at a time. And it just my feeling about it, Logan, is pretty much it was all written for me.
Hmm.
It's like you have a plan. We all have plans,
Yeah.
but plans usually don't work.
Right.
They might kind of work, but things come into play. Some of them good, some of them bad,
Right.
but they all in the end, they all eventually make sense.
Right.
And that's what happened with my photography. There was no rhyme or reason to it. My shooting boxing, which is boxing is very difficult to photograph
Hmm.
from ringside, and shooting NCAA football, it all gave me the skills to photograph concerts like Foreigner, where a band is moving constantly all over the stage. Uh, my sobriety is
Yeah.
is responsible for everything that I've done in the last 31 years. So
Amazing. It's funny when you were talking about plans always fall apart. It reminded me of Mike Tyson, where he says everybody's got a plan until they get
everybody,
punched in the face.
everybody's got a plan when they go in the ring until they get hit in the face. And
Exactly.
plan goes right out the window.
And we all get hit in the face in
Oh man, do
life
we
one way
ever?
or another.
Oh man, do we ever?
Yeah.
Those are the days you can count on. It's the great days like sitting here talking to you and
Yeah.
being able to do this that make those days seem like nothing.
Yeah.
This is a great day today.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's a great day for me. I'm enjoying talking with you very much. Let's turn the hands back in time a little bit. Let's talk about when you're a young man, you want to be you're a musician, right?
Yeah,
And then you get kind of punched in the face by sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's easy to do, right? I mean, you like
uh,
music and
I loved playing, and I was playing full time. I was in two bands that were reasonably successful, which meant we worked constantly. We made money. And one band was called Larry Davis and the Marvels. It was an R&B band. We had a singer that was very similar to an Otis Redding type guy.
Mhm,
And we worked in New York City. Matter of fact, we worked at a place called the Cheetah Club, which
mhm,
was on West 54th Street, I believe, back then.
mhm.
And I was still in high school, so I was taking off school to go play in this band. And we worked up there. We were the house band at the Cheetah. We opened up for like Four Tops, Temptations, all the Motown people. Got to meet all those great people. Arthur Conley was a gentleman who had a big hit record in the '60s called "Do You Like Good Music?" Sweet soul music, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we toured with him, and then we were his band, and I was all over the country. Um, the uh, the power of drugs and alcohol uh, took over my life, and I made a decision one day that getting high and drinking was more important than playing.
Mm.
And the only way I knew to do that was I just bought this brand new set of drums too. I had them like 3 or 4 years, beautiful set, and I sold them. And then I went on that part of my life, that journey in my life, which uh, I'm still here. So here we
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah. It's tough. You're a young man and you're.
73 is still young, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
All
you're a young
right.
man now, but you were a young man when you got tempted into the drugs and alcohol and all that. And
Yeah.
it's easy to do. Rob Lowe talks about it all the time. He says
Oh yeah.
it feels good. I mean,
There's a lot of sober guys walking around. Robert Downey Jr., perfect example. Robert
yeah,
Downey. The list goes on, but then there's another big list too.
yeah,
The list of people that didn't make it.
right.
Uh,
Exactly.
People like Whitney Houston. Look at that. I mean,
Right. exactly.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Uh, People say, that don't understand. They say, well, they had all the money, they had everything to live for. It doesn't matter. It
right,
doesn't matter they had everything to live for.
right. And they also had all the temptation in the world also, which is part of it too. That's the other side of money,
Yeah.
and the other side of access and the other side of influence is that people are throwing drugs at you, people are throwing alcohol at you, and there's always a reason to have a drink. That's what I say. So I actually stopped drinking myself about 5 years ago because,
Well,
every
great for
time I
you.
went to lunch, we'd have a couple of drinks, and then dinner, a couple of drinks, and then on the weekends, and it adds up. And
Yeah.
it's not a healthy lifestyle, and it's much better to be sober for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's a whole different,
absolutely.
it's a whole different life.
So tell me about your career now. You're primarily focusing on boxing?
I still do a lot of boxing, uh, mostly here in the Northeast. There's only room for a certain amount of photographers at ringside, and I've been doing it for 16 years, and I do a lot with a lot of the promoters here in the Northeast. Sometimes I get fortunate and I do some top rank events
Mhm.
where I come up to New York, like I mentioned, at the Hulu Theater and stuff like that. I love doing boxing. My dad was a big sports fan, so when I was growing up, he took me to baseball games with his
Mhm.
buddies and introduced me to boxing. And so I grew up a fan of sports. But then I saw the Beatles on TV, and like a lot of guys,
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I got to do that." So I talked my parents into getting me a set of drums, which they did. They took care of me and got me a beautiful set of Ludwig drums, and I taught myself. And before I know it, I was making a few dollars, and then I was making more than a few dollars, and I had fun. And I grew up. My parents took if we needed something, they took care of it.
Yeah.
We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. We were well off in the respect that they both worked very hard, and they
Mhm.
raised us. They raised us well, I believe. Yes. And,
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not in the boxing world right now, people are talking, I'll pick your boxing brain for a second. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, who's going to win?
well, I know most of the people, I have kind of like I got a boxing family. I know a lot of judges, a lot of referees, and other people, sports writers and guys, just generally around the ring here in the Northeast. And the consensus is all the same. It's all the same. It's a spectacle. It's for money. And Jake Paul is created himself he's a smart guy. He's a
Yeah.
social media success, and he's a millionaire. And he actually has accomplished really nothing in the boxing world, as far as I know. Um, I'd rather watch somebody like Vasily Lomachenko, who I think I photographed him twice, and I've never seen anybody quite like him.
Yeah.
But the consensus is, and I've met Mike. I met Mike when I lived in Las Vegas, and I can tell you that you can lose your speed, and you can lose your footwork, and but you don't lose your power.
Yeah.
This is what everybody says. You don't lose and Mike has power.
Yeah.
So if Mike hits you, there's a good chance you're not going to get up. So,
Especially even at 57 years of age, I would not want to get into a ring with him. I mean,
oh,
of
no.
all the boxers I've ever known, I think I would fear him the most.
All you got to do is look at his highlight reel, the people that he knocked out. I mean,
It's
he was
amazing.
he was astounding. I saw him fight Michael Spinks in Atlantic City, and this was my drinking days, obviously. It was the late '80s, something like that. And I'm getting all my beers organized underneath my seat. I got like 15 beers underneath there, and the bell rings. And I look up, okay, we're getting started. And I reach down to get, I look up, but there's only one guy. Where'd Spinks go? Where'd Michael go? Oh, he's already down there. Oh, you missed it. Oh, okay. He's back up. So I judge, where'd he go now? He's down again. I didn't see
Amazing.
either one of the punches because I was organizing all my alcohol. But
Amazing.
he was
Amazing.
he
We
was
got a book to
unbelievable.
tell you about. It's not a TKO, it is a real knockout. And it focuses not on boxing, it focuses on rock and roll, one of the most celebrated bands of all time. You know their songs, they're the soundtrack of your life. Cold as Ice, I Want to Know What Love Is, Hot
Mhm.
Blooded. Well, for 8 years and 27 concerts, Daryl photographed and documented their work. and he's come up with a terrific book that is a must-have for every fan, everyone who grew up in that generation. It's called 8 Years, 27 Concerts, Foreigner Live. This captivating book showcases his incredible journey as the key photographer for this legendary band. It is a 300-page book. It is loaded with exclusive photographs. You will just love it. Daryl, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
I appreciate you giving me the time. Thank you very much, Logan.
I appreciate your time as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.